Connection established. Sending interactive video.
Good afternoon, folks. Running late, sounding great. John Nelson, the plugin CEO of JKO Works, pluginbusiness.net. A couple of really cool projects that are about to come online that we will have a big old launch for. At least one in particular, and then the other one should follow in a couple of weeks. There's lots of cool stuff happening around here. So I apologize I was running late. I was fighting with our near and dear StreamYard here that makes all of this possible. And I am my own producer. So that means craziness is generally scheduled right away. So not to disappoint, here we are. But I did want to jump on here. We have been talking about getting more leads for most of the week, how to get more leads. We played one of the lives that we did actually quite a while back, 6 months ago or more, about that. It was great information. But I want to take a little bit of a departure here because as you'll see in a minute, we kind of have 5 pillars we build our company around. Foundations, more leads, more conversions. That's from a lead to a sale, obviously. More transactions. That's after the initial sale, continuing that business, and more profits. And so we kind of filled up a lot of what we had already done on the more leads previously, again, you'll see. But so I wanted to drift over to something else that we'll probably go back and revisit a little bit. But I think this one is important if you're looking to scale your business. And this, again, probably should be a business that has a little bit of history under its belt. I mean, it doesn't have to be legacy. It doesn't have to be around, 10, 20 years. If you're doing that and things aren't working out like you wanted to, then either you're very determined or there's something else at work there. So, but if you are ready to scale, if you are ready to grow, if you are ready to do something different, then this is an exercise that you will have to do at some point. And I'm talking about cutting costs. So let's examine this a little bit. Let me just make that bigger, and I'll make myself a whole lot smaller. Heck, I may even disappear altogether here in a minute. So, but I did want to do this because this is to me something that is important. And it's underrepresented in the world, or misrepresented, I guess. And you'll see what I mean by that in a minute, because what we think of as cutting costs is kind of has a different reputation these days, and it's not entirely deserved. As a good business owner, this is something you should be doing anyway. It just is. So if you're not doing it that well, then we need to talk and see about what that looks like, and we can certainly help you with that. But yeah, let's kind of jump into this as I make sure I push all the right things. There we go. This is about we're ready to cut some costs. So it's my own producer. My thing kind of got away from me here. So, but yes, we're ready to do this, to scale by pruning back. So it's the concept of pruning. So when you, as you know, in gardening, when you prune something back, the expectation is it will come back bigger and better the next year or the next season, the next whenever that is. There are some plants and bushes and whatnot you can trim back, and they come back 3 or 4 times a year, a couple times a year at least. There are some that's an annual thing. Most it's an annual thing. If you're lucky. And unfortunately, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then that can be they never come back. But pruning is a very healthy, natural thing to do. And it really doesn't look like it should help your whatever it is that you're pruning. But in fact, it truly does. And it makes it better and bigger and brighter than the sum of its parts. So more able to thrive. So done a lot of pruning in my life. That's how I kind of know that. The 20+ years worth of experience as a managing partner with a small group, usually owning businesses. And we tackled at least 6 startups. We aimed for there was about 4 or 5 more that we sort of took over control. We started them, then they went on their way. Then they didn't do what we thought they were going to do. So they had to come back to us, and we ended up working with them. One big successful sale, and one that really didn't work like it was supposed to, and a whole lot in between. So that's what we do. I'm fanatical myself are about the business process, and I get to bring 40 strategies that bring on that process, sometimes business, sometimes marketing, to make that happen. So that's a part of why I hope I can sit in front of you today and talk about some of these things and why they should matter to your business. Don't do some of the mistakes I did years ago. Don't do some of the mistakes my team did years ago. I've learned plenty and done it the wrong way, but also got to do it the right way. And that's the only way you learn, no matter what advice. Sometimes you just have to experience it for yourself. So these are the 40 strategies I was talking about. There are 20 business, 20 marketing, and we can bring any number of them to bear on your business. And lots of this should be familiar to you. If it's not, we can certainly work through the nuances of what some of that is. But these are all dedicated strategies in one way or another to grow your business. It's not always about bringing in leads, even though that's what we've been focusing on. Sometimes it's about keeping your costs in line, which is where we're going to go now. So when you bring the lead, you get the maximum amount of profit possible out of what it is that you're selling and what they're buying. And if your costs are in line and everything is running efficiently, then you get to serve those customers and you get to keep them around for a long time. You encourage them to stay by what you do and how you do it. So each one of these in their own way, each one of these strategies is very important. So we've been trying to focus, and we've been zeroing in on like 6 of them in particular. You see, we've done affiliates, we've done referrals. Those are both big things. And now we're going to talk about cost cutting in this particular time. So I hope this helps you. I hope this is something that can work for you, and just take it to heart and see if you perhaps hear something new that you haven't heard before. So let's talk about cost cutting. There's a little bit of a history here, and it's not always a good history. There have been situations where, cost cutting has had to been done for centuries. Since businesses have been around, people have had to keep their costs in line for what they sell, so they generate a profit so they can feed their family. It is sometimes that simplistic, but it's obviously gotten more complicated and more complex over the years, and that's okay. But then you hit the idea of somebody like me or somebody like Anderson Consulting, now Accenture, coming along, and plenty of others in between. There was a heyday of consulting. My first job was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And my first job was with a maintenance and reliability consulting company. And what started to happen, thanks to certain companies, was they took it too far. And so it got a really bad reputation. Cutting costs, as you'll see in a minute, is actually a healthy process. It's something you should do periodically to keep in line what your business is doing. However, you can take it too far and then get a reputation for cutting somebody's pet project or doing something else. Never mind, it wasn't efficient and it wasn't doing very well, but you messed with the wrong people, and that would cause some problems. So that is a little bit of the history of consulting and what we now call coaching. And yes, to some people, those are still not the greatest words. So I hope to do at least my small bit to try to get you to change your perception of what that could be and how that could really help your business instead of hurt it. We're going to do some things that may ruffle a feather or two along the way. We wouldn't be on to something good if we weren't. Some of those. There was a great chapter of a book years ago, and I think it was one of those Harvard study things about 12 things you could change. And it's something about sacred cows make the best milk or make the best steaks. So we all got to hang on to those, but we shouldn't. And if we're thinking with the better parts of our heads, sometimes letting that go can be some of the best decisions of your life. And yet everybody gets to keep their job and work more efficiently and do things more efficiently, and the company profits. And one of the things I do live by is if you take care of the company should take care of you. So you can't do that if stuff like that is getting in the way. So, all right. Of course, a variant of the sacred cow thing is by actually an Indian friend of mine. He says sacred cows make great lawnmowers, and after that, you get to eat the lawnmower. He loved him some steak. It's a whole inside joke with him, but it's awesome. Okay, so why is this important? Why is cutting costs important? Before I get myself in trouble with a lot of communities here, I promise that one was legit. But why is this important? Well, this is important because because it's the example I talked about pruning just a little bit earlier. You have to prune something back for it to flourish. You have to trim the baggage, trim the fat, trim the things. It could be simple stuff like there are whole businesses now, and they're coming from banks even, in places like NerdWallet, where they go through and they look at all your subscriptions you sign up to, and that you probably largely forgot about some of them, and they reveal them to you and let you decide to unsubscribe or to keep them going or what they are. But they'll come out of the blue as stuff you had completely forgotten about that maybe you signed up for perfectly good reasons. I mean, everybody likes that. You then save money, right? So that's kind of the idea here. If you can handle that. So cutting costs is very important. And I know people get afraid of stuff like that. They get afraid of those sacred cows being violated. But if we do this together, if we approach this together with common sense and general goodwill, but with an understanding that if the company doesn't survive, it doesn't matter what your job looks like. You won't have one. If you're not generating a profit of some sort, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can't survive. The business cannot survive, and you will end up out of a job. It's just that simple. So if you can take a lot of deep breaths and place some fears aside and actually work in a constructive dialogue with somebody like me or my company who does what we do, and at least be open to something and open to a discussion, it's neither side should be this is the way it is and that's it. Everything should be on the table as a possibility. And even if it gets ruled out for any number of various reasons, you give us a chance, we'll give you a chance. And the one that will benefit the most is the client, is you, the client. You will absolutely benefit the most from that type of open dialogue. But there is a fear. I'm going to acknowledge there is a fear behind this for certain people. There just is. Okay. So let's get to some fun tips and tricks on cutting costs and not dwell on this too much. I mean, I hope this is kind of the meat of the whole thing. And I hope this is something that is helpful and more appeals to your common sense, and something you can truly take away from this tomorrow when you come back to the office, or whenever it is that you watch this the next time you go back. So the first one is every payment has a purpose. Okay. So if you're in purchasing, some of this comes from, I didn't really share back in the other, is that I have some time as a purchaser, and I was taught well by two different people. One was basically our COO of our transportation companies. And the other was a gentleman we purposely brought in from the outside who had done purchasing for a major transportation company and knew how to do it. And so between the two of them, I learned a lot in a very short amount of time. So it is important that I'm looking at this from a purchaser's perspective, because those people in your company, if you're big enough to have a dedicated purchasing function, or if you're the one who does the purchasing function, you should, treat those people very well, but understand the responsibility and the power that they hold for the destiny of your company, and manage that accordingly. If you are the purchaser, understand the power you hold. You're lobbied every day by businesses calling, wanting your business, wanting to get in your inner circle every single day to the point of it gets old. You need to understand what you stand for. You need to understand what your company benefits from properly, and how to do it well, and how to keep all those balls in balance. Okay. So this is part of it. Every payment has a purpose. This is more of an accounting thing, but everything you put to, you should know with every payment that is made in purchasing, when you're purchasing stuff, when you're purchasing products and services, They should all have a place to go. They should all have a reason for being. If you don't know what that place to go is or that reason for being is, then you should start asking questions. And if you cannot ask questions on things like that within your own company, that's a problem. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it goes up the chain and it stops. But you, in good conscience, should be able to look and say, okay, if you want it that way, that's fine. But this is not good. This is a hole that will eventually sink you as a company. It just is. And so, some of that will be above your pay grade, as they say, but you should have the ability at least to voice some concern about it and see what happens then. And a good forward-looking company will take that. You may not be the one who gets to make the change, but hopefully they will acknowledge that. And if you're a owner, if you're a general manager, if you're entrepreneur, if you're, the C-suite or vice president watching this, you should understand that and be able to either act on it or get to the right person who should be able to act on stuff. If there's a payment out there going to something that you cannot identify that purpose, it's just that simple. Okay. Second thing is, let's talk about a budget gap analysis. This is a tool that accountants and purchasers can use. Basically, this is you're bringing in more money than you're sending out, right? So what's left over are the profits. And so I can break out at some point my multi-level view of, it's kind of simplistic, but it's a funnel basically of how the whole accounting system works, where at the top is revenue. That's everything you bring in. Then you take out the cost of goods sold. That's what it costs to create and implement the products and services that you offer. And then from there, you go to, you end up with a gross profit, right? So that's when all the costs to manufacture, produce, or enact what it is that you sell are met. That's the profit that's left over. Then you have what's called overhead, and that's your everyday costs, your salaries, your building maintenance, your equipment maintenance, your depreciation, your all those sorts of things. And then what's left is net profit. That is the actual take-home profit for whomever it applies to, be it the owner or the employees, if it's a employee ownership thing, or however the stockholders, or however that works. Whatever the net profit is what you want to get to. That's the money you have to spend. So a budget gap analysis will make that very clear. It's very simplistic to do. You look at that gap and you try to make it as wide as reasonably possible without causing problems, right? So that's a tool that you can use for this. Now, as a purchaser or as anybody else that's in that line of influence, you should always be out to get a better deal. You always should. There are some caveats to that, and we're going to go through them in just a minute, because there is actually some accountability that not everybody sadly pays attention to. But whenever possible, try to get the best deal you can when you're purchasing. Try to get the best deal when you're setting up what it costs to produce your products or services, whatever it is that you sell. Try to get the absolute best thing that you can there, because that is the foundation of the business, really. So if that is out of whack and you're spending more to produce it than you are to sell it, then one of those two has to give, and it's going to be a problem. So in purchasing, you can do that. That's the balancing end of purchasing, is you try to get that best deal possible, the best price possible on the materials or the core services that it takes to offer what it is that you offer. So, and you live within the margins of the difference between what you purchased it for and what you sell it for, right? Simplistic, but it's very true. Okay. Then one of the ways you can get a better deal here is to go long term. The longer term you can stretch something out, the better. Now, that does a couple of things. One, to a vendor, if you're willing to sign a little bit longer agreement, that raises their comfort level, so they are willing to give you a better deal. But at the same time, you should just make sure that there is some sort of, review during that process to say, hey, if all is working, we're going to leave this alone, and you have a good contract for a long time. If things start to, if you don't perform, the services that I'm paying you for over time, or that I bought ahead of time, and then you start slacking off, vendor, then there should be a review process. There should be an ability to say, hey, this is not what we agreed to. This is not working out the way it is, and it should go back the other way. But a responsible vendor will know this, and they will appreciate the investment of a longer term. And they will hopefully do what's right there if you vetted them correctly. And sometimes even if you haven't, it is incumbent. It's on them to do it, to be reliable for that long term of the money that you spent. If a client buys services from JKL Works, my company, for a year, you best believe I'm providing value that entire year. For lots of reasons. One, it's what we believe in. Two, it helps the business. Three, it's, there's still good ways to show value. Even though we may accomplish the things we want to accomplish within, say, 6 months or so, I'm still continuing to find value. I want to be, and my company wants to be, that confidant person that they can reach to, that sounding board, to say, okay, you did well for me. I'm thinking of trying this. What do you think? What are the pros and the cons? Okay, here are the pros and cons. Here's an objective analysis of what's going on and what you can do with that. And we'll decide if it's a good idea or not. But I want to be that person looking over your shoulder in the best way possible, that you can turn to with complete confidence and confidentiality, and talk to them about what's going on. Sometimes, general managers, stop me if you've heard this, or if you've ever thought this, really, because you don't dare voice it half the time, or some of the C-suite folks. It would be nice to have somebody that's outside that is confidential and accountable, helps you be accountable. Because sometimes if you raise just ideas inside certain groups of people, it makes them very nervous, even though it's just an idea, just a thought, just what if we did this? It makes some people very concerned. So you need to be able to have an outlet, an outside place for that understands and gives you both sides of, the good and the bad. And so you can then do some really cool stuff. So all that is to say, that's the more long-term you're willing to go, the better your relationship is going to be, which is, part of the next thing here. Try to build a good relationship with your suppliers. Try to nurture that. Don't just, it sounds so easy. And frankly, way too many suppliers make it this easy to simply get a bill, pay a bill, get a bill, pay a bill, get a bill, pay a bill. And the only one trying to foster the relationship is the salesperson for the vendor, right? So make it, if it's an investment by you, foster that relationship. Keep track of what's going on in their company, not just their new product ideas, but hey, how are things going? How's business? What's going on? Where do you got, is there anything you're dealing with? And pretty soon, if you do well to foster that relationship, when craziness does happen that's completely unforeseen by the vendor, and shipping, we all know what that's about, don't we? Especially in recent times, in the mystical supply chain, right? So you have then more grace to deal with situations like that. You work through it together. If I'm a vendor and somebody is relying on me and I know I'm going to have a supply chain problem, that I cannot get them their stuff that they want. I used to work with shipping containers, perfect example. That is a commoditized item that is not always available at the original price, and the prices change. People don't realize this. They actually swing quite a bit. $2,000 swing or something or more. There was a time when what normally would sell for around $2,000 or $2,400 was selling for $6,000 and $7,000, and that wasn't that long ago, kids. So it's those are things that you have to stay on top of. But managing that relationship allows you to do that. It gives you some leeway. to be able to say, look, I mean, I got to do this. This is going to come back down, though. This is what I see coming. And so if we can do this for a little while right now, I will make it up on the back end. I'll find a way to make it up on the back end for you. And we'll make that happen. That's the value of fostering a relationship. Very, very important with your vendors. And that it just be more than the salesperson, bringing you donuts and constantly trying to woo your business. That should be two-way. That should be two-way. That's one of the things. That's certainly one of the things that I learned from folks. And and it's very important that way. All right, let's roll on. As my phone call rings, probably for my Google listing or some other thing. I don't know about you guys. I'm getting all these calls where they don't say anything. They just hang up. It's like they're trying to get the voice drop or something, and it's a mess. Okay. This one, I think, is about the most underappreciated, and it goes along with the relationship. Okay. Are you being a good customer? If you take nothing else away from this, take this. Okay. Are you being a good customer? Are you being somebody that a vendor would truly want to do business with, not that they have to do business with? Maybe you're the largest, opportunity for them forever, but you're a jerk. You're a real jackass. Your company is a real jackass to deal with. They're very difficult. They're very demanding and don't give much in return. That's not going to work long term for you. It's not, if you're that company. Imagine if it's the flip side and you're trying to sell products or services to somebody and you have this one client that is just huge. They're the ones you always wanted to land, and then you land them and then they're awful to you. Okay. So learn how to be a good customer. Okay. That doesn't mean you're going to get the lowest prices. Doesn't always mean you're going to get what you want, but true to the point before, if you're being a good customer to somebody and you need, maybe you have a tough month and you need a little extra grace of payment terms, they'll work with you. They'll more than work with you. And not just because you're the biggest, revenue generator for them. It's because you fostered that relationship. You have worked well. You're trying to be a good customer. You just had a really crappy thing happen to you. Maybe you had a fire at your building. And you're completely off, the hinges with it. I have a great example of that. There is something that my old boss regularly texts me. I can almost count every couple of years going, what was the name of that company that you bought those turkeys from? But there is an outfit called Greenberg Turkey. I'm not going to say his name because it's going to get him in trouble. And he does follow me. So there is an outfit called Greenberg Smoked Turkeys, and Greenberg Smoked Turkeys are awesome. They're the absolute bomb of smoked turkeys. They are incredible. What they can, how they taste. They take a black pepper gun and they put it all sorts of different places in there, and they inject this black pepper into these smoked turkeys that they smoke anyway. And the flavor is just unbelievable. But a few years ago, right around the time of COVID, they had a massive plant fire. Their one location is near Tyler, Texas, in East Texas. It's probably 3 or 4 hours from us. We're down in Houston, and it devastated the whole thing. But because they had built up such love over the years for what it is that they did, because they, it would seem, treated not only their customers very well, but treated their vendors well, treated everybody well. The community came together on their side. And of course, it was a great PR thing for them. It was sort of, making lemonade out of lemons, right? So they all came together and they helped Greenberg get back on their feet bigger and better than they were before. But there was one year they were just clearly out of sorts. And so they had to do something different. But the community came together and helped them because they were a good customer, because they fostered on the other end that customer relationship. So if you want good terms, you want favorable conditions, you want grace when craziness happens, Be a good customer to these people. Give them as long a term a deal as you can. Work through issues with them. Be a friend to more than just the salesperson. That's trying to pitch you if they get that spot. Be as a company, sort of personally invested in what's going on with them. Be connected to them in a good way. So you're all small businesses. You're all trying to make it happen, right? Maybe even a medium-sized business who once started as a small business and is still trying to make it happen. So be aware of that and work together to be that good customer. You will be blown away when craziness does happen. You will be blown away at how everybody comes together for the good and works with you to work everything out. You will be amazed at what happens if you've done that the right way. And it takes time and it's not easy, but it's so worth doing, right? Okay. And then the final thing is try to revisit this whole scenario regularly. If you're going to cut some costs, if you're going to work through everything, do this about every 6 months or so. Go through and look at your subscriptions. Go through and look at what you're paying for stuff. See if you can get a better deal. See if you can get a better situation by being a good customer, offering something a little longer term or doing something a little different. See if you can work that around for good. And if you regularly do that about every 6 months or so, you'll get those costs in line. You'll get those profit margins up. So you can then, you ensure that your quality of what you're providing is good and it's good value. So then actually that can affect some things on the other end, where if you need to raise prices for something, then you have done your homework and you're treating well and you're doing good, and you can raise those prices and your customers will actually let you. Because you're giving them so much value, because you're doing so much good. So this is a regular thing you should be focusing on, and it will do amazing things for you. It really will. So this is something you should be revisiting often whenever you're talking about cutting costs. So I've been going through all these stories. Let me shoot through this concept here real quick. This is the concept of, okay, you've decided to cut some costs. You've decided to make this a regular thing. Why not make this a team sport for your entire team? But there are some benefits to this, and there are some caveats you need to look out for. So, first of all, the first thing is, make it a true team thing. Really talk about it and get this going as a team effort where everybody's looking for this. Make it a contest if you want. Make it all kinds of different things. Provide an incentive if you want. Whoever finds the most cost savings in this particular month that we're doing this, we'll give them a dinner out or something, or some sort of recognition for doing that. And that we'll get to the last point in just a second. But don't miss this third one here. If you're going to open this up to suggestions, if you're going to make this a team sport, then you're going to have to take all suggestions, no matter how silly. And some of them will be silly. Let's be honest. Some of them will not be. So it's just any number of things. But people need to understand that they are heard and at least legitimized, and their thing is at least considered. I've seen some people who handle this that are very, very good at it, where the suggestion is unbelievably silly, whatever it is, but they handle it with grace and with class. And what ends up happening is it turns out very, very well. And that person becomes much more invested in what's going on, and it's much better. And it's awesome for that. So then the final thing is, give credit where credit's due. If somebody really works hard and finds lots of savings for you, then they should be, recognized at least, if not rewarded, depending on how you have that set up. But at least give credit where it's due. It shouldn't be your idea if somebody else did it, okay? That should go without saying, but I feel the need to put that in there anyway, okay? So this is the concept of cutting costs. It's a little bit longer due to stories than we thought it was going than I thought it was going to be. But I hope it's helpful. You should review what you pay for items. You should review how much you're paying and what you can do to get a better deal by being a better customer. That's important. So this is all cutting costs is actually in a different spot. It's up here, it's in some it's over here in the more profits. We'll talk about it again maybe a little bit later in some greater detail. But these are kind of the pillars of what we do: foundations, more leads, more conversions, more transactions, and more profits. And then you see all this, just some of the strategies behind it. This is not all 40. This page is a great big deal as it is. So if you try to load all 40 on here, you'd never have room for anything. But this is a lot of what we stand for, trying to get your business to small business to scale, trying to get to real business life change. That is important. So that is what we aim to get your small business to. If you're ready for that, then there's some things we can do. Let's get you to a strategy session and talk about for 22 minutes or something. Let's dream a little bit of what your goals are, what your ideas are, where you want your business to be, and then we can run it through our exclusive profit acceleration simulator, just to show you how little changes can have huge impacts. And then we go to the success blueprint, and that's up here. The success blueprint is where we take about an hour to start and do a basic one. We put about 3 or 4 of those 40 strategies in place, and we show you what that could look like. It can help you uncover at least $50,000 of profit you didn't know you had. It's buried there. If you do things like this cutting costs we've been talking about, you'll be amazed at how much profit shows up. This is one of the strategies that we do. And then we give you the whole roadmap to go get it. And we offer to be your guide and to help you do that. That's really what we want. That's our joy. It's not only our revenue that keeps our business going, but it's truly our joy. It's my joy to do this because I've been that small business too. My team has been that small business, and it makes a big difference when you make little changes that have huge impacts that help you do the thing that you always really truly wanted to do. Okay, so that is what we do. This is what we work towards. And so if any of this for your small business, if it's at a point that it sounds like it's ready, that you might be ready to do things differently than the way you've done them because you're tired of getting the same results you've always gotten, then perhaps it's time that we have a conversation. Likewise, if you're a marketing agency, we have a special plan. We take 20 of those business strategies, plus some of the other marketing ones that you don't want to mess with, and we bring them to, imagine us bringing them to bear, working through you on your clients, not to poach your clients and take them away from you, but to work through you to make you look like the rock star. That is what we do with our 1090 turnaround, agency client turnaround. That's what we do with that. And it's a really cool product. We might be rolling some of that out here very soon, we hope. We're going to explore that with a couple of different suppliers a couple of different customers in this coming week. And we're going to work through them. So we end up, we're still making some hay before the end of the year here, or trying to anyway. We're going to be working through them to make absolute magic for their clients and change the game over just the typical marketing agency, trying to offer the same things everybody else does. We're here to make that better for you. So bring us on, put us in, coach, and use us for that type of thing. So our basic process looks like this. It starts with the strategy session, as we talked about. We then want to get you to a success blueprint if you're a physical business with a physical location, whether or not you see customers, or a digital success blueprint if you are an online business. The questions are different. The strategies are a little different, but basically otherwise the concept is the same. And then, so we give you that report and that roadmap, and we offer to be your guide. And if you let us, that's where we cross over into our ProfitWorks implementation. Takes a couple of different forms depending on what your need and your style is. The main one is an hour a week. We're doing work, you're doing work. We are working on your business with you. We're not doing it all for you. Then you aren't vested at all, and we're not leaving you to do it all by yourself. Now we do offer as a back end help for you our Success Academy. This is training. This is a virtual MBA's level, 1 year's worth of MBA level knowledge. You will come out with the equivalent of an MBA. You won't have the degree, you won't have the paper, but man, you will have the knowledge. And it is an intense, set of courses for that year. And it has all kinds of stuff to help your business grow. And it's intended as a resource. It's intended for you to not feel like you're asking stupid questions. You're not, but sometimes people feel like you are. So then what you can go research things on your own and understand them better and come back to the conversation better prepared, at least from your standpoint, to make that happen. So that's one of the things we use the Success Academy for, that it comes with your ProfitWorks implementation. It's free and it's awesome, including a financial section that it has. Just 3 more real quick things here, and then we'll have talked enough. First of all, you should be spending anyway at least 2 hours on your business, regardless what your business is, at least 2 hours a week. This is not making sales calls. This is not paying bills. This is not trying to get customers to pay. This is actually working on, intent ways to grow your business, direct ways to grow your business, and coming up with those. And it's great. It's a whole lot better if you have help. So if you have us, then that's 3 hours. That's even better. With a full implementation, but you should be spending on your own, you and your team, at least 2 hours a week, intentionally growing your business. Okay. The other thing is, if my deal will cooperate with me, this is an accountability relationship, and this is a little different. Like I said, we work with you. We do not do this all for you. We do have a do it all for you, but honestly, I would rather bill you less and have you work with us because it's your business to grow. If nothing else will do and you just got to have it all done for you, then we have a solution that's in place to make that happen. But I would much rather have this be an accountability relationship in the best possible way. Everybody grows and thrives in a truly good accountability relationship. And so that's what we like to do, and that's the way we like to run it. And that's not for everybody, but I think you'll find if you give it a chance, it will suit you. And the final thing is, any work that you do on your business is not an expense. It's not a cost to be cut. It's an investment. It may be for a season. It doesn't have to be forever, but it should be an investment because it will help your business grow in value. And so just wanted to leave you with that. If this is something at all beyond the stories that are, that could be intriguing to you, let's book a business breakthrough strategy session. Let's see what this could possibly look like for you, because it's time well spent, and there's no obligation. 22 minutes. Let's get to know each other. Or let's skip directly to it and go to the Success Blueprint. You can book that directly at blueprint.jklworks.com. So that's always kind of fun what you can do there with that. So I hope that makes some sense for you. I'm still working through fighting with StreamYard here a little bit, so I know it's trying to be helpful, but we'll get all this worked out. Meanwhile, I thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry we were so late, but this will be available on recording, and you can jump back and watch it whenever you like. I hope you learn to be or continue to be a good customer. I hope you take the time to go through and work through in all the best ways possible what your business spends money on. And I hope above all that you absolutely profit from it, and it helps your business grow and it helps it thrive. If you need some help with that, then talk to us. Give us a shot about what that could look like. If your business is poised to grow and scale, but you think you need a little help or a jump start or something, let us help you to do that. Anyway, if we can answer any questions, comment where you're seeing this, or go to jklworks.com and book one of those appointments. Let's get it started. Thanks so much for watching. We will talk to you next time.